Like, so important to have people read your book before you publish it. I know, like, you're like, oh, people are finally gonna read it when I publish it. Like, you need to have people read it before then. Hello, friends. My name is Morgan M. Steele. I'm an author. Today we are talking about beta readers, ARC readers, all of that good stuff. So if you are a writer who is pursuing publishing, maybe sometime in the near future, or you would like to someday, this is a good video for you. Also, if you're a reader who likes free books, this might be the video for you as well. So, to begin with, what is a beta reader? So as an independently published author, you can find all my books in the description down below as always, I use beta readers all the time in my editing process. A book is not complete unless I have other people read it first. Basically, these are people that are going to read your book before it's published. They are going to give you their honest feedback, and you can implement this in your editing process to make the book better before you pursue publishing it further. When you're writing a book, it's really hard to, like, pull back and view it from a reader's perspective. That is what beta readers are for. They are going into this thing probably almost blind. Maybe you have given them some description of what the book is about, but other than that, they are going in fresh. They do not know what they are expecting, and they are able to view the book in a way that you as the author cannot. No matter how long you let it sit, you're always going to remember certain things about the story, and you're always going to be blind to certain elements of the story. So you need people to come in with fresh eyes to view this story for you, so you know where your weak spots are and the spots that need improvement that maybe you didn't see before. I cannot emphasize how important beta readers are. They are integral to the editing process for me. They can help you pinpoint all kinds of things. Character arcs that aren't working, characters that are out of character, choices that just don't work for them, plot points that aren't working, where the book is dragging, where the book is like at a breakneck pace, where things are too fast. These are going to be like the big picture edits. This is part of the developmental editing process. You don't want them to focus too heavily on grammar for you. Like, there are going to be commas that are out of place, there are going to be all of those things at this point in the editing process. This is like after you finish your first draft, once you have the draft completed, you pass this off to beta readers. Or maybe you do a round of edits on your own first, totally up to you. But when you're ready for other people to see it, you pass it off to a round of beta readers and they take a look at it. But they shouldn't be too focused on the little picture things, because those could change, especially if you make big picture changes, like you rewrite the whole last half of the book or something. The commas don't matter at that point. They do not. So yeah. Some beta readers are paid. These are people who have a lot of experience. These are people that are like professionals in their field. They know what they're talking about. Most beta readers you do not have to pay. They volunteer in exchange for a free book. So they are reading your book for free, and in exchange they are giving you feedback on said book. Okay, so I want to touch upon the difference between beta readers and ARC readers. I know this is confusing for some people. Beta readers are people that read the book before it's published, while it is kind of a rough version of the book. Your earlier drafts, these are the people that read that. They read like the early access book. Like, it is not yet fully developed. There are a lot of changes that have yet to be made. Beta readers are the ones that read it when it is in its very first form. ARC readers are people who will get your book later in the process, once you are approaching publication. So your book is completely done, you are locked in with your developmental choices, you are locked in with like your plot, your characters, everything. The only thing that should be left at this point is maybe the grammar stuff, but I would argue that you should have that done as well. You should have all your commas in the places they're going. It's okay if there's like a couple of grammatical mistakes, a couple of formatting mistakes, but when you are handing it to ARC readers, it should be polished. It should be professional. You should be done with it. It should not still be a work in progress, because the point of an ARC reader is they are reading the book for you for free in exchange for a review of the book. It is not their job to give you constructive criticism. It is their job to tell you honestly what they thought, whether that thought is good or bad. You know, they are reviewing your book. It is an advanced reader copy. So this is intended for review, for them to read your book, hop on Goodreads, tell everyone what they thought about it, and it's to ramp up publicity before your book is published. Recently, the reason I bring this up, I recently had an experience with this. I was given an ARC by an indie author. It is their debut book. So I know that like they do not have a lot of experience with the publishing process, but the ARC I was given was like so riddled with typos and mistakes and all kinds of stuff, and at that point I'm not ARC reading anymore. I am beta reading. I am like, because I don't ever want to set up an author for failure. I don't ever want to like just kind of let them live with all of these mistakes, because I would not want someone to do that to me. Like, if you know that there is a mistake in a book that I'm giving you, I would hope that you would point it out to me, especially if I was getting ready to publish it. But it was just like I did not sign up to beta read this book. I signed up to be an ARC reader, and it was just a very different experience than what I was expecting. I've not finished reading the book yet, just because I was so kind of put off by the beginning. So don't make that mistake. Like, don't give your ARC readers something that is unfinished. They should be receiving something closer to being finished. These are not, they shouldn't have to have editing experience, and they shouldn't have to have like, you know, they're just reading it to read it. These are readers. These are not people who are familiar with writing, who are familiar with maybe, you know, the intricacies of grammar, like that kind of thing. Beta reading, ARC reading, two completely separate things. There's also sensitivity reading. This is a completely different thing. This is for when you are writing a book that is like about characters that have experiences that you do not, whether this is tied to their race or their sexuality or something else about their upbringing or their identity. A good example of this would be like if you're Stephanie Meyer and you're writing the Twilight series and you have a bunch of characters that belong to a real life tribe, the Quileute tribe. Ideally, you would want someone from the tribe, you would want to hire someone from the tribe, or like reach out to, if they have like a historical department or something like that, you would want to reach out to someone to have them read it to make sure that you are being like respectful and like as accurate as you can within the world that you've created and like that kind of thing. like you want to have people read it over and make sure that you're not, you know, completely messing up their history and culture and all of that stuff. So that's a sensitivity reader. A lot of times those people are paid. That is a service that you are hiring them to do because, you know, you're writing about an experience that you don't have. So yeah, sensitivity readers you usually pay. Some beta readers you do pay if they have like a lot of experience and you are sure that they know what they're doing. But otherwise, a lot of times you can just find volunteers. Same with ARC readers. These are just people who want to read a free book early, so a lot of times you don't have to pay them either. So yeah. So now we're going to talk about the editing process, which is something that I want to do a bigger video on because it's a big process. It takes me a long time. Essentially, you write the first draft of the book, or maybe the second draft, whatever draft you're on. You complete the draft, and then you select a group of people to be the alpha readers. I do, when I'm like looking for people to do this for me, I do use the word beta reading just because like that's the term that people know. If I say, hey, do you want to be an alpha reader for something? They're like, what is that? So basically an alpha reader, they're beta readers, but it is the very first round of them that you have. This should be like a close group. These are people you trust. These are friends of yours. Like people that you know are going to give you good feedback. Like I have a handful of them that I really do count on, and they always give me like really, really good feedback. But I keep it like tight. It's like 5 or 6 people. And it's like people I trust and I can count on. And I can reach out to if they, you know, are having problems with the book. But that's your alpha read. That's your tight-knit group. They're going to read the book in whatever time you allot them. Usually I do not give them a time limit just because we all have lives. We're all busy people. I understand that. You let them read the book. I like to make a questionnaire, so I use like Google Forms for this, and I just write up a questionnaire and send it to them, and then they give me their feedback back. Some of them give me like comments, like on a Google Doc or whatever, it'll be full of like comments and suggestions and that kind of thing, and so they'll give me those things, they'll fill out the form, and then if I have any other questions, I ask them. You know, like, oh, what did you mean by this? Oh, what part specifically was confusing to you? Like that kind of thing. After the alpha read, you can let it sit for a little while, and then I like to look for a bigger group of people to be my beta readers. So this is going to be a group like 10 to 25 people. I find them online. Typically, like I'll make a Facebook post or a Twitter post, sometimes Tumblr, sometimes when I was writing on fanfiction sites, I would like reach out there as well because I know those people already like the stuff that I'm writing, so maybe they'll like the original stuff that I'm writing, and I just like put out a broad post and I'm like, hey, looking for beta readers for such and such project. If you like such and such things, reach out to me and I'll get in touch with you. And then, you know, I email them the book and then I give them an allotted time to finish. I reach out to them when it's getting close to that time. Anyone who's finished gives me their feedback. And then you kind of implement that in the edit as well, and you see what they have to say, you see the things that they had problem with, the things that they really liked, like all of that stuff. That's all going to be in the questionnaire, and also like any DMs that you have with them, any like emails back and forth that you have with them about the book. You should probably save those things, screenshot them, keep them on a folder somewhere, just because like it's not all going to be in the questionnaire. Like you want to make sure that you keep track of all of the feedback you're getting wherever this is coming from. That's the beta reading process. It's just literally like opening yourself up to constructive criticism, really like taking these things to heart and seeing what issues people have with your writing, areas need improvement. Usually I can spot some of these things on my own, but there are a lot of times where beta reader feedback really does help me like consider things that I hadn't considered before, and maybe I thought something was okay before, and then you know, a couple people have problems with it, and I'm like, oh, I should probably, like, look that over then. So, they're very, very, very helpful. It's great. So important to have people read your book before you publish it. I know, like, you're like, oh, people are finally gonna read it when I publish it. Like, you need to have people read it before then. It's nice to have beta readers. It's great to have critique partners. That's also another thing. They're usually, like, authors, like another author that you will pair with, or a couple of them, and you trade work. And then critique each other, like that kind of thing. But that's, you know. Something really important with the beta reading process is to keep everything organized. Like I said, keep track of everything that is said, even the stuff that's not in the questionnaire. But also I like to make a spreadsheet. And so I will have the names of all of the beta readers I have, the day that they received the book, so I know how long they've had it, whatever social media I'm using to contact them, the email that I'm using to send them books, updated drafts, that kind of thing. And then I keep track of if they've finished, how far they are, if I have that information, like that kind of thing. And just like keep it all in one place, keep it on one spreadsheet, just so you have an idea of how many people have finished and, you know, kind of when you can expect feedback if there is any. So yeah, just keep a spreadsheet, keep it all organized, and then you can also keep track of if they have finished the questionnaire or not, so you know, like, when that's done. So let's talk about feedback. Like I said, you're going to want to do a questionnaire of some kind. I usually do one on Google Forms. It's really easy to set up, it's free, and then you can kind of flip through your replies individually, or you can look at them all together. I like the multiple choice stuff. You can make some questions required and some questions not required. For me, the most important part of the beta rating process is the questionnaire and the results that come from it. So it's all about like knowing your draft, knowing yourself as a writer, and kind of formulating this questionnaire accordingly. So if there's like, for example, the end of the murder mystery that I wrote, like I'm kind of concerned about the twist. So I would write like a question that's like, what did you think of the twist at the end of the book, the killer reveal? Do you think it's strong enough? Do you think it should have been another character? What were you... Like, all of those things, like, anything that I'm worried about. Like, for example, I wrote my first intimate scene. I'm, like, worried about that. And so that's one of the areas that I'm choosing to focus on in the questionnaire. Like, just anything that I think, like, oh, maybe the pacing at the beginning is weird. Maybe the characterization here is weird. And so you have to be able to pinpoint these things ahead of time and ask about them specifically, just to hear what people have to say. And sometimes, you know, they might all be like, no, I think it's fine. I think the pacing there works. Or sometimes they might agree with you, like, oh, now that you bring it up, like, actually the pacing at the beginning was kind of slow. I think maybe you should pick things up a little bit more. But by asking about them, you are opening up that feedback specifically. So it's about kind of being honest with yourself, being honest about like kind of your pitfalls with the book that you've written, and what things that you personally think could be improved and should be improved, and asking if other people agree. And like I said, some people might think that what you have now is fine. You are your own worst critic. They might also agree with you. They might also think that these things need some improvement as well. And then I write a bunch of questions that are like, is there anything else you need to bring to my attention? What was your least favorite apart? Like, what is the thing that you think was the worst executed? Like, you need to open yourself up to the things that you don't know are problems, and so leaving some things kind of open-ended, like, is there anything else you need to bring up with me? Like, is there anything else you want to bring to my attention before I move forward? Like, those kind of questions can really help you find things that maybe fell into your blind spot a little bit. Here's the thing as well. Beta readers are human people, and you have to remember this. Everything is down to personal taste. So one beta reader may hate a choice that you've made, but it might be another beta reader's favorite part of the book. And so you just kind of have to, like, I guess take everything with a grain of salt. One person might, like, hate something specifically, and that might not be a problem for the rest of your beta readers. And so I guess it's up to you to like take a look at that thing just to see with your own eyes, like, if you think that that thing is a problem, but it might not be. It might just be their personal taste that they don't like the choice that you made there. But if 2 or 3 beta readers bring up something, then you might have a problem that you were a little blind to. It's just about, like, using your judgment, using your brain, figuring out what actually needs to be fixed and what doesn't based on their feedback. But they're really good at, like, bringing up things that maybe you didn't know were problems. So, you know, kind of goes both ways. Okay, we've changed angles a little bit. My card was getting full. We're good now. When you are dealing with beta readers, there is something that you have to kind of accept as a reality. Some of them are going to DNF your book. For those of you who maybe are not familiar with the term, DNF means do not finish, did not finish, something along those lines. When you DNF a book, you are done with it. You put it down. You're not finishing the book. You just decide not to finish. It happens with normal books. It happens with books that are published. It may happen to your book, even though they agreed to finish it. And this could be for many reasons. It might be because of something in the book. Maybe it just doesn't hook them the way they expected it to. That's totally fine. Not every book is for every person. Maybe it's out of their usual genre, you know? You can't take these things personally. But it could also just be, maybe they're busy, right? We all have lives. We all have jobs. We're all doing stuff. They might just be too busy to finish your book, and that is okay too. And you have to accept going in that not all of them are going to finish. If you are a beta reader, and you are, like, deciding to not finish a book, let the author know. Like, just kind of let them know so they're not waiting on you. You know, and that's totally okay, and I'm not going to be mad at you. I would love to talk about the parts that you did read. If you started it, I would love to talk about those parts. My feelings are not going to be hurt. Just, like, let me know so I'm not waiting on you, right? So I'm not, like, you know, being led on that you're going to finish this book and it's not going to happen. And that's totally okay. Like, it's totally fine. It's totally normal. That's just something that happens. It's nothing against you. It's nothing against your book. It's just, you know, sometimes it just doesn't work out the way we think that it will. With my second round of betas, the bigger round, I shoot higher than I know I'm not going to get every single response, especially from that group of people, just because it is a bigger group. So if I am reaching out to like 30 or 40 people, I'm expecting like 10 or 20 responses, just because I know that some of them will not finish. I do think it's important to talk about bad experiences. I have had one, notably, very bad experience with a beta reader. This is not someone I knew in real life. This was a person, I think I found them on Tumblr. Their friend recommended them to me. They messaged me and they said they were interested in beta reading a book. This was a time travel book that I wrote that I may or may not rewrite in the future. I don't know. But something I've been trying to write for a very long time. And I felt kind of good about the work that I had done. It wasn't a complete draft. It was partial. It was like the first handful of chapters, and I was just looking for feedback to like see how things were headed, I guess, before I really committed, because this was already the 3rd or 4th time I tried to write it. So anyway, they were on, I believe, Google Docs, like a doc version of the document, like their own copy, so no one else could see what they were doing. But every single chapter they commented really like mean, horrible things about my writing. I was 17 at the time. I think that's also really important. I was a minor at the time. I was a teenager. I was writing this book out of, you know, my passion and my love for the book, the story that I wanted to tell. And I don't know if they knew how young I was. I don't know if they knew that they were like bullying a child, but it was just like really mean stuff, like not even constructive criticism, like not even just like, hey, like the pacing here is bad, hey, like this line of dialogue is kind of bad, like that kind of thing. Like it was, they would highlight stuff and be like, this is so stupid, this is so cringe. Oh my god, I'm rolling my eyes so hard. Like, all of that stuff. And that just really is not helpful. It's just disheartening more than anything. And, you know, I feel like there are definitely nicer ways to word things like that. And if you are going to be like that as a beta reader, do not sign up. It's really damaging to your, like, self-esteem as a writer and your belief in your ability to have someone who is presumably older than you. I don't know how old they were. I have no idea. I'm assuming they were like in their 20s ripping this book to shreds, written by a teenager. And it really broke my heart. Like, it was awful. And I stopped writing the book and I haven't finished it. And I'm 23. And I don't know what that said. Maybe I'm just sensitive, you know, but it's just like why would you do that? I'm like letting you in on something, and even if you hate it, even if you hate the book that you're reading, I feel like you could just say, hey, like, this really isn't my thing, like, I'm sorry, I can't help you out. That's all I need to hear. Because even the worst books that have ever been written, I'm looking at you, Colleen Hoover. I'm kidding. I haven't actually read any of her books, but I know they're bad. Anyway, they still have diehard fans. They still have people that love them. You know, so even if you think that something is awful, there are still going to be people that eat it up. So there's no reason to bully someone like that. But yeah, I've never had anything happen like that since. That was the only, like, super negative experience I've ever had with a beta reader. And like I said, they were a stranger on the internet. They're not someone that I know, and I did end up just, like, kind of blocking them. But just, you know, like, it can happen. It's really shitty. I also did have, this is, like, way less serious than the other thing, but I had a beta reader just, like, lie about finishing the book. Like, lie about reading it. And I could tell because they were, like, filling out the questionnaire, and one of the questions was, who is your favorite of the new characters that are introduced? Because it's actually the book I'm editing right now. It's a sequel to my first book, Lost and Found. You can check it out in the description. It's about teenage spies. You should read it because I'm working on the sequel. It's going to be out sooner than later. But they, like, lied about reading the second book and then took the questionnaire and did not know any of the answers. And it's one of those things where there shouldn't be a wrong answer. Like, this is not an accelerated reading test. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is not a high school quiz. It's just like, hey, what did you think of the opening of the book? What did you think of the middle part of the book? Who is your favorite character? Like, very, like, subjective things. Like, basically anything you write is going to be correct, but they would answer yes or no to questions that were not yes or no questions. And the question specifically where it was like, pick your favorite of the new characters that were introduced, they picked someone with a gender-neutral name, so they didn't have to pick a pronoun for them, because they did not read the book, so they did not know how this character identified. Like, they didn't know anything about the character that they had picked, because they just picked one with a gender-neutral name to try to get away with it. And I was just like, uh-huh. And then in, like, my messages, we were messaging back and forth, they were like, yeah, I read it, like, a long time ago, so I'm sorry if the answers are bad. And it was just like, I didn't say this, but I was like, I can tell that you're lying. Like, I can tell that you did not read this book. You just straight up did not read the book, and you're lying about reading the book. So don't do that. Like, if you're not gonna finish it, just tell me. Like, it will make me more mad that you lied about finishing it than it will if you just, you know, didn't and let me know. Alright, now we're going to get into tips for those of you who are thinking about becoming a beta reader for someone. You don't know how to be a good beta reader, or you just want tips to make sure you're, like, doing a good job. First and foremost, thank you so much for even considering being a beta reader. It is, like, one of the most important things you can do for your friends who write books, or even strangers on the internet who write books. Like, this is a very awesome thing for you to do. So first and foremost, thank you so much. Your honest feedback is all that is needed, the only necessity. But these things will help you go above and beyond. Number one, be as in-depth as you can. Do not be afraid of rambling. If you don't have something to say about a certain topic, you don't have to make up words. You don't have to, like, be reaching to, like, reach a word count or anything like that. If you don't have anything to say, you don't have to comment on it. But if you do have something to say, like, do not be afraid of leaving me a big paragraph. Number two, do not be afraid to tell me that something is bad. If there is, like, a piece of cringy dialogue, That's the one I struggle with the most, where like I'm reading back dialogue and I'm like, ooh, like do not be afraid to tell me that, this line could maybe be reworked a little bit. The pacing here is weird. The character choices here are weird. This part is rushed. Like, do not be afraid to tell me the bad stuff. That is the whole point of having beta readers, is to pinpoint the things that I cannot pinpoint on my own. Number 3, this is totally not required, but if you want to, if you so feel compelled, if you want to like make your own Google Docs version of a document and leave a bunch of comments, like you can highlight a paragraph and leave a comment there, that is awesome stuff. That is really, really great. Not even just like, hey, this part needs work, but if there's a part where you're like, oh my god, like if you're really excited about something, if like the plot picks up and you're like, ooh, I can't wait to see what's gonna happen. I know that on Wattpad this was a functionality. I believe it still is, but you can, comment on certain paragraphs, and it's like that. Like you're leaving your thoughts as you read along. I really love reading through that. It lets me know not only what needs work, but also the parts that you do like, so I don't end up like cutting them out. If you want to, go through and leave comments and suggestions, that whole thing. That is really, really helpful, but not necessary. If you don't have time to do it, you don't have to worry about that part. That's totally fine. And then 4, when you finish the book, if you finish the book, let them know as soon as you can, as soon as you remember to like reach back out to them like, hey, I finished the book, so they can send you the questionnaire that I told them to make in this video, and get your feedback when it's like fresh. And then also, if you can't finish, let them know as soon as you can as well. If you know that finishing is not something that is going to be possible for you, let them know that too, just so they're not waiting on you, and then I can just make a little note in my spreadsheet. And if you do end up finishing after that, totally fine. Let me know that too. But, it's nice to have a heads up. Finally, how do you become a beta reader? So this is easy, question mark? I don't know. I just kind of tend to stumble upon these posts, but usually when an author is seeking beta readers or ARC readers, they will make a post on their social media and they will say, hey, I'm looking for beta readers for this project. If you like such and such genre, let me know. Reach out to me. Follow their instructions. Reach out to them where they say to reach out to them, and just, they'll email you the book and you get to read a free book. Isn't that so fun? I love free books. And if if you're looking for some actively, you can just look up like beta readers, or like searching for beta readers, looking for beta readers, those kinds of things, and you might find authors that you've never heard of before, and maybe they will let you read their books too. If you're interested in being a beta reader for me, I will be looking for some in the near-ish future. You can hit me up. I will put my email in the description. You can email me there. Just say, hey, like I'd love to be a beta reader for you at some point in the future. I will send you a different questionnaire. I made one specifically because I'm putting this video out, so I can collect potential beta readers and just learn like what kind of genres you would be interested in, all of that kind of stuff. So let me know. Send me an email. I will send you that questionnaire and I will get you in my system, and maybe you could read one of my books for free in the near future. Anyway, have you ever beta read for someone? Have you ever been a beta reader in general? What did you think of the experience? Would you do it again? Did you even know beta reading was a thing you could do? Let me know in the comments below. Authors, let me know your best and worst experiences with beta readers. Did you have someone bully you online when you were a teenager? Maybe you did. It was awful. I would not recommend. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below. That's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely rest of your day. And as always, take your meds, drink your water. I'll see you next week.